Today's lesson is on equivalent ratios. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities. You can write ratios in one of three ways. The first way to write it is using a colon. So let's say that we had x to y. So using a colon, you can write it just like that. You can also write it in a fraction format. So if I wanted to write x to y using a fraction format, it's x to y. And finally, you can use the word to, x to y. All three ways, you say them exactly the same, x to y. Let's take a look at an example. In this example, we're going to write each ratio in three different ways. So in A, it says the number of solid colored balls to the number of striped balls. So if I count the number of solid colored balls, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Since I'm going to write it in three different ways, the first way I'm going to write it is using a colon. 2, the number of striped balls. If I count those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that ratio is 4 to 5. I can write it using a fraction format, 4 to 5, and also using the word to. In example B, it says the number of even numbered balls to the number of odd numbered balls. You probably want to identify the word to in each example because that is really important in putting these in the correct order. Since even numbered is coming first, if I count those, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are 6 even numbered balls to the number of odd balls, which is 3. I'm going to write it in fraction format also, 6 over 3, and finally using the word to in between 6 and 3. Equivalent ratios are ratios that express the same relationship. You can find equivalent ratios by either multiplying or dividing each term of the ratio by the same non-zero number. So here are some examples of equivalent ratios. Let's start with 2 over 6. Above I said you can use either multiplication or you can use division. Let's start by using multiplication. So I can take a look at 2, 6, and I can multiply both the numerator and denominator by any non-zero number. So let's say I choose the number 2. So if I multiply both the numerator and denominator, I can come up with an equivalent fraction 2 to 6. 2 times 2 is 4, and 6 times 2 is 12. So in other words, 6 over 12 is equal to 4 twelfths. I can do the same thing dividing. So let's say I start with 2, 6 again, and as long as I can divide the numerator and denominator by the same number, I can come up with an equivalent fraction. So let's say I divide 2 by 2 and 6 by 2, and I get 1/3. So in other words, 2 over 6 is equal to 4 twelfths, which is also equal to 1/3. Let's look at an example where we need to find some missing values in a table. So you can see this value is missing and so is this one. You volunteer at an animal shelter and need to order supplies. You know that the ratio of kitten supplies to adult cat supplies for each category is equivalent. So let's complete the table. Let's look at the treat category because that's actually complete. We have kitten to adult cat food. So let's go ahead and write that as a fraction. Since it was kitten supplies to adult supplies, that would be 42 over 56. Since they are equivalent, we know that over here we're missing the kitten supplies, but we do have the adult supplies for food. So we know that ratio is x over 8, or I'm just going to leave a question mark. Since these are equivalent ratios, we know by looking at 56 that we must have divided that by a number to get 8. 56 divided by 7 is 8. So let's do the same thing to the numerator. Let's divide that by 7. 42 divided by 7 happens to be 6. So that missing value right there is a 6. We can also find the missing value in the food can category. Again, let's start with our ratio 42 over 56. Since the categories are all equivalent, we know that since the food cans for kittens is 126, we're looking for this missing value. If I take a look at 42 going up to 126, I multiplied that 42 by 3 to get to 126. So I must multiply the denominator by that 3 as well. 56 times 3 is 168. So now I have the missing value for the adult cat for the canned food, and that is 168. Equivalent ratios have the same simplest form always. To write a ratio in simplest form, write it as a fraction first, then divide the numerator and denominator by their greatest common factor. In other words, just reduce the fraction. In this example, we have to make sure that we complete this problem by converting yards to feet. Well, I'm just going to put a little note here that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. You make a banner 6 feet long to hang behind the desk at the animal shelter. Your friend makes a banner 6 yards long to hang on the outside of the building. Write the ratio of the length of your banner to the length of your friend's banner as a fraction in simplest form. Since my banner is 6 feet long, I'm going to record that in the numerator, to the length of my friend's banner, which is 6 yards. Now here's where this conversion is going to come in handy. We need to make sure that both of these are in feet first. So the first one is okay, it is in feet. So I want to convert the 6 yards down here into just feet. So I can do that pretty easily by multiplying that 6 yard times the conversion factor of 3 feet to 1 yard. So when I do that, these yards cancel each other out, and 6 times 3 is 18. So now I have 6 feet over 6 times 3 is 18 feet. Since feet over feet cancel each other out, and I reduce the fraction of 6 over 18 by dividing both of those by 6, I come up with a ratio of 1 to 3. That's my final answer. Thank you for watching.